So there was a viral article about grandparents, grandmothers, let's be real, complaining that they're not going to have a grandchild and the grief of that. Aww. Let's go into that. I have so much to say about this. So this was in the New York Times, and it was, this article got dragged. It's actually a really good article in terms of, I honestly can't believe some of these people said out loud this stuff. Anyway, okay, let's get into it. The unspoken grief of never becoming a grandparent. A growing number of Americans are choosing to not have children. Their parents are grappling with what that means for them. Now, okay, before I go into any of this, I understand that this is something that a lot of grandparent-aged people should be grappling with, should be dealing with, and should be going to a therapist to talk about. Because I think that that's very, I get it. But what this article leaves out is this super important context of why we're not having children. And that that should be highlighted throughout this. So there's a reason why people were so annoyed by this article. Because once again, not all boomers, okay? I know some boomers follow me. This is boomers and older Gen X, okay? So that's my generation. I criticize my own generation all the time. It's okay. If this is not you, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But a lot of boomers are mad that they don't get grandkids. And yet they are, economically the most selfish generation. But okay, well, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. At the time of this was like yesterday, I think, like not even a week after an election where now so many people are going to be forced to give birth against their will. This was terrible timing. But also as a journalist, like this reporting was probably done a long time ago and it finally got published, but this was like the worst timing for this article. The worst. And the journalist has no control over the publishing date whatsoever. So, it should not go unnoticed that all the people interviewed for this were women. I mean, like pretty much. It's mostly women who want grandchildren. Why do you think that is? Well, we'll get into that. So Lydia Burks, I can't believe people went on the record to say this. God. Lydia Burks, 56, has held onto her private copy of the Velveteen Rabbit since her three children, now in their 20s and 30s, were young. She loved being a stay-at-home mother and filled her family's home with books, blah, blah, blah. She hoped one day she'd be a cool grandma who could share her favorite stories with the new generation. But none of her children want to have kids. None of them. And though that decision is right for them, Ms. Burks said, it still breaks her heart. I don't have young children anymore, and now I'm not going to have grandchildren, so part of that part of my life is just over. Now, I just want to point out that so many of the women who were interviewed in this article, and yes, by the way, you don't know if you don't, my eye is still swollen, but I think it's getting better. Thank you for your suggestions. I'm not touching it as much. The glasses keep me from touching it when I'm anxious. It still looks bad. I'm sorry. I'm hype. You probably don't even notice, but I can't stop staring at it. Whatever. That's the reality of being a woman online. I predict what people are going to make fun of me for. Or just project, I guess. Anyway, a lot of these people are like, yeah, I'm cool with their decision, but I'm going to do an interview with the New York Times. And talk about how I'm really sad about it, but I'm okay with it. I respect it. But I'm going to put my children on blast. Like, I didn't know who this lady is, but now we know, you know what I mean? Like imagine your mom, pretending to be okay with you being child-free and then going and doing an interview like this. I'd be so pissed. Like Ms. Burke, a growing number of Gen Xers and baby boomers are facing the sometimes painful fact that they are never going to become grandparents. A little more than half of adults 50 and older had at least one grandchild in 2021, down from nearly 60%. So these birth rates are going, and they should. If the society is not going to support mothers, and men are going to continue to leave women alone to parent and just check out, and I'm going to go into that in a minute. Why the hell would women have kids? Our whole lives derailed, our whole careers derailed. We lose 30% of our, I'm getting ahead of myself. I love this statistic. I mean, really, the only way we're going to affect any change is to like really hold on to any power we have in this system. And if that means our money, and by the way, me and my mutuals are launching something to really help people, our followers, like know how to approach this, or whatever suggestions. We are announcing it very soon. I think maybe even today, but watch out for that announcement. It's coming soon. But withholding children from people, from society, because we just can't do it. And withholding free labor and withholding our money and investing that into the people that we know are not going to vote against us, and literally vote against protecting the most vulnerable people in the country. Well, those are people, you know what I mean? We can't change the election, but we can be very mindful about where we put our money and whatever power we have. And having children, well, that impacts us the most, and yet all these grandparents want us to give them a child. This is not a present that I'm going to do and just give it to you. You're going to go hang out with it and give it right back. That's a lot of labor. Like even the way so many grandparent aged people are like, give me no, you give yourself. Go adopt a baby and take care of it. You know what I mean? Like, but it's because being a grandparent is usually way more fun than being a parent, and they know it, and they're like, dang it. And I get it. There's like all these reasons why I get why they would want grandchildren. I do. But we cannot ignore why we are here and how we got here. Amid the falling birth rates, more U.S. adults say they're unlikely to ever have children for various reasons. Chief among them, they just don't want to. But why do they just don't want to? Could it be that social media, and especially moms on social media, have exposed what it's really like and how that does not seem worth it? Not only does it does not seem worth it, it actually seems like a literal nightmare. Because so many moms, and it's usually because their partners suck. And then the society doesn't support, especially in the US. We do not have Social Security to help parents, but especially mothers. We just don't. We have nothing. At least over here, they subsidize babysitters. You get paid time off for maternity leave. They have some paternity leave, but I've already gone over why sometimes that's just men taking literal vacation and doing nothing. They have all these things to, each child at the beginning of the school year gets 400 euros. 400 euros for each child to cover school supplies. They would never do that in the U.S. Never. So they just don't want to. It's not just I'm selfish. I just want to live my life. It's like, no, y'all, why would anyone want to? It's the better question. Now, her husband said this. She said, that is the best and worst thing about having kids. Said her husband, John. You want them to make their own decisions different from your own. Still, would-be grandparents like the Burks may experience a deep sense of longing and loss when their children opt out of parenthood, even if they understand at the intellectual level that their children do not owe them a legacy. Legacy is always so fun. As if okay, your legacy may be like a school pewer. Your legacy may be a little incel on the internet who terrorizes people like me and my mutuals every day. And women in real life, and women on dating apps, and women, you know what I mean? Your little legacy, this idea that God, the delusion around the point of children. It's a lot of parents still just don't even see children as human beings. They see them as property, or they project all of their insecurities and all of their dead dreams onto their kids. The way we think about children in our society is so messed up. I didn't even realize that until I started following former adoptee TikTok. Holy crap. Those creators really helped me unpack a lot of my own ideas around children, where I was like, oh my God, we are so dehumanizing towards children. That mentality is very big, and we need to unpack that too. Before I even get into all of these interviews, here's a quick refresher why maybe we should think about these as we read this article. And you know what? I don't know why men don't want to have children. But I can guarantee you one thing about a lot of cishet women who end up who are expected to marry and give birth to children and parent with these men. Here, I'm going to go over reasons why we're not interested in having any grandbabies to give anybody. Married men are healthier, right? So, chances are, unless you're in like a healthy partnership with a man who truly loves and respects you and is unpacking patriarchy, because it's there in every single one of them, just like it's in me, your quality of life and your health will go down if you are in a house with a man, unless the things I said before, and his is going to get better. So right out of the gate, without children, the men are getting healthier and the women are getting sicker, because living with a man who will not regulate his, he can, but will not regulate his nervous system and have, build emotional intelligence and be thoughtful and not just be a selfish prick king baby who everyone walks on eggshells around because of his moods or, is unemployed and doesn't want to work or whatever. That is actually unhealthy for us. So women don't even want to live with these men, much less parent with these men, unless they make our lives better and than it was single, which is why, that's why I loved my single life. So I had a lot to lose in order to be partnered. So I had a very high standard. If you're not, my life is in here or above with a man, right? We also have to worry about, men being afraid of our success, mad that we use our spare time instead of, playing video games or, watching porn or like literally doing like escapism stuff, that we may actually work on things that are like we care about. Activism, writing. When you have somebody writing in being like, help, I'm mad, my wife is productive and creative and has, ambition. What do I do? This is what we're up against. Men who are jealous of us. That's why if you are with someone, be looking for that right away. Is he your number one fan or is he your number one hater? Because if there's any jealousy there, he's going to be your number one hater. We know that behind the most famous men in economics is always, we know that the most successful men, it's like because a woman is supporting them and giving up her own dreams, or, I actually want to go into some of these articles because I haven't covered them, some of I have, or they're stealing our stuff. They're literally stealing our work. Or we make a really good money and they're just like, cool, I'll just stay at this job that has no money. And that'd be fine if they were making up for that in the home. But a lot of these men are not. So women are the breadwinner and doing the second shift. And he's just living the sweet, sweet life. If we do have children with these men, then they're not the king baby. They're not the son that we have to orbit around. They're not the motorcycle and us the sidecar. Now they're jealous. They're jealous of their own children because now, wait. Where's my kid? I want, because she's distracted and is actually giving all that to the literal human being that would die without all that attention. And men are like, what about me? So a lot of women, you know what? They may be with an awesome man or seemingly awesome man, and then he becomes this as soon as they have children. A lot of women don't realize their partner seems pretty cool, pretty great, and then you bring a child into it. And that's when all that entitlement under patriarchy just comes out like more than ever. We also know that can't even trust our own husbands to not give us an STD. This should terrify people. You're just as likely to get an STD in a monogamous relationship as you are in an open one. So this is whether you're married or not. If you're in a relationship with a cishet man, or maybe not a cishet man, because a lot of men are on the down low, right? You have to wear a rubber even with your own partner. So if we can't even trust our bodies in terms of being safe and not getting an STD, why would we have children with any of these men and give you a grandchild? Also, we know that a lot of older people are going to expect us to do this. Who needs children when a lot of boomers are expecting us to do this? Especially the boomers, even though they have all that money, have it saved for this because this is expensive. If you put in a memory care center, my dad was in a memory care center. Thank God he had gotten that insurance policy that would cover that just in case, but it only covers for 5 years. Imagine being like, I hope he doesn't die, but also what the hell are we going to do if he lives more than 5 years? Like in the United States, no one can afford to take care of their parents, much less children. So grandparents, I'm sorry, but like, and boomers are the ones who voted for these policies continuously. Not all. If it wasn't you, I'm not talking to you. But boomers are the ones who did this consistently. Gen X too. Gen X, we voted the most conservative. More Gen X voted for Trump than anybody, according to some exit poll. I don't know if that's still the case. Those were early exit polls. But you know, my generation that grew up with this crap, Revenge of the Nerds, 16 Candles, where like the jock with the Corvette and the nerd get to grape us. Right? So my generation grew up with I swear to God, the incels, like they're just, now they're more radicalized because they have podcasts and platforms, and they're in literally everything sends men to the alt-right pipeline, everything. So if you parent a boy of any age, this is where they're going unless you do a lot to keep them from going there. There are some men out there who have healthy, but most of it is sending men to the alt-right. Boys, the video games, literally everything. And for women too. White women are getting radicalized into the alt-right pipeline for yoga, healthy eating, like everything sends, you know what I mean? So anyway, like if you have a man in your house, a boy especially of any age, you should assume he is getting radicalized until proven otherwise. Because look where we're at. Look where we're at. This is what capitalism is doing. These algorithms are brilliant. And they're powerful, and never underestimate them. But this has been going on since forever. This is what my generation was raised with. We also know that if the daughters are going to be expected to do twice as much as sons for aging parents, so not only are we expected to do the most of the work for children, most of the work in any relationship with men, unless we push back and hold the line, and they are learning how to not expect so much from us. But then we got to take care of y'all too. How the hell are we supposed to have children when y'all expect us to take care of you, especially the oldest daughter? We are living in a world where men won't even think about, at least in the U.S., taking our name. They want us to change our whole life, our license, everything, so that then it's harder to vote. Take their name. Why? Why are we taking their name? Why does their name, the children get their name? We don't even want to sleep in the same room with men. They're literally unaliving us through our nervous systems, through even while we're asleep, because they have sleep apnea. Some of them have PTSD and are like punching us in the middle of the night. Like and they won't go to the doctor. They don't want to wear their little CPAP machine because that's just too emasculating, as if anything could take away your masculinity other than your own insecurity and emptiness. Like women don't even want to sleep in the same room with men if men will not deal with their sleep issues, which most will not. And they sleep better next to us. We sleep worse. They literally, Tori Spelling's husband or whatever, when I did that breakdown, I don't care about either of those people, but they're a great case study. He literally said, and I quote, she was like a battery charger. Sleeping next to her was like charging his battery. They're energy vampires. Oh, there you go, rotisserie chicken. What's funny is that even if you're a stepmom, or like not even married, like a stepmom, but like not even married to your partner, stepmoms get screwed so bad. They end up spending all their money on the children, and then the children like never talk to them again, or the children hate them because of what their dad did. Usually, right? Not always. Sometimes stepmoms are like, the pick me, especially, or whatever. But like, we don't even want to be stepmoms because we usually get screwed. And imagine even this couple that's just so happy, and this man drove. Like, when I watched this, I've been meaning to do this documentary, too, because it was fascinating. This man was obsessed with her. Still cheated. Still dragged her all over the world. Have chasing his career. Like, he still cheated on her. So, even if you're with a man who really loves you, if he is insecure or is not... is just not a strong person. If he just needs a validation of someone else so bad, I don't care how much he loves you, he's going to do this to you. Even if you are, what's her face? Beckham, whatever. Spice Girl. Women give up their artistic dreams when they're mother because of spare time. They don't have time. Always wanted to write a book, don't have time. Because it's just endless labor because men won't do it. Even when men are paid paternity leave. Remember I did this one not too long ago? Oh, stop, Melanie. Even when they have like 2 years or whatever of paternity leave, they aren't going to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, or they're going to go on Everest, or they're just going to like play video games. So many men, even when given the resources to take care of children, are like, but why should I? This is boring. This man literally went skiing and ran marathons because he was bored. Welcome to the world. I used to be a nanny. I was like, God, this is so boring. It's overwhelming and so stressful, and yet somehow so boring. How? Plus, in the United States, U.S. Americans are struggling so much living in vans, tiny houses. And then, I lived in a truck before this whole thing started. It is hard. Some people make it work. That's fine. But a lot of people are like, it's so hard to live in a vehicle. How the hell are we supposed to have kids if we can barely afford a tiny house? And the unemployment rate of men don't want to work. Not men. Duh. I have to say that every time. I'm literally just making fun of it. People like make fun of me for saying not all men. I'm literally making fun of it. Also making, but not all white women voted for Trump. I know. Doesn't mean we're not a problem. Anyway, we can't even stay married to men because so many of them don't want to work. Unemployment, that is like one of the biggest reasons when women leave men is because they don't work. They don't want to work. I can't tell you how big of a deal this is. Okay. I gotta hold that for another video. Because the unemployment mindset of men, it deserves its own hour video. By the way, men are literally out here like, hey, if you can't sleep, cuddle your partner. Ruin her sleep so you can sleep better. Women aren't sleeping. We don't have spare time. The rest gap is what some people call it. Because men are out there, they have kids, and then they go do this. This made me so angry. I did a whole video on this last year. He's a dad, but I want to ride the biggest wave. I want to ride it like a virginal way, like the colonizer, like almost like not almost, but like kind of mindset of like, I want to conquer. I want to put a flag in this. I want to be the first, fresh, young, new, not ran through wave. So now I'm going to finish with the rest of that article, but I'm not going through the whole thing because it's so annoying, but it's just funny. It's funny, especially right now, of all times, for boomer grandparents and older Gen X to be complaining about their grief while not even questioning themselves, A, why we are here, and B, why your kids don't even want to talk to you. A lot of people are like no contact with their parents because their parents will never question themselves or go to therapy or do anything. So, you know what? There's going to be a lot more grieving would-be grandmas out there. And you know what? That's just the consequence of their actions or inactions or how they voted or how they, whatever, the policies they supported. And especially if any of them voted for, I hate his name so much. I don't even want to say it. But one of the things I love that this article does bring up is that a lot of these parents think that their children owe them a child, even though didn't vote in any way whatsoever to create a system that would actually encourage people to have children what they feel owed a child. And that's what this Claire Bidwell Smith, a therapist based in Los Angeles, said, the author of Conscious Grieving. It doesn't help that our society tends to paint grandchildren as a reward for aging and as a reward for parenting. Y'all really think your sons, like when you say you want grandchildren, maybe you want your baby boys or whatever, if you're, toxic boy mom mentality because you haven't unpacked this patriarchy enough and internalized misogyny. But you know that the only people who are going to take care of you are usually daughters, right? And at this point, like I said, if you're not actively working to push to de-radicalize your sons, you should assume they are getting radicalized. You don't want those, you do not want those men taking care of you. The matricide rates are skyrocketing because a lot of these men who don't have partners because no women want to date them, much less marry them, are moving back in with mom or grandma. And then those men are the same entitled babies they were before. If you don't think that they would take your life too? If I've done videos about the matricide rate before, but maybe I should do some more because I really want mothers out there to really be careful before you let your grown sons move back in with you, please. No, I am not surprised this is what this woman looked like. I don't know why. I find this photo so annoying. There's no changing their minds. You know what? Like, again, I understand there is real grief there, especially if you just love children, you loved being a mom, you really dreamed of having, I get it, the two things can be true at once, but this right here, to have a photo like this and to complain to millions of people about your kids not having children, I hope none of them have kids now. This seems very, like, passive-aggressive. I'd be pissed if my mom did this. So for people who don't get to experience being grandparents, okay, sure. I'm sure there's some grief with that. Valid. But ask some of these grandparents. Most of the people I know, especially here in France, but even back home, their grandparents are involved. Sometimes a little too involved, to be honest. And sometimes the grandparents, because it's so hard to have children in a society like this, the grandparents are learning in real time, wow, parenting is a lot different now when there's no support and also they work so much. Like, I know some grandparents who I'm like worried about them because they spend so much time parenting or, doing childcare. It's hard to raise a kid without grandparents in the picture. But then a lot of grandparents have a different idea of what that looks like than what their children actually need from them as grandparents. Being left out without a legacy. God, this obsession with legacy. You know what? If you want to, I'm never having kids. I'm not worried about my legacy. You know why? Because first of all, if I had children, I'd probably mess them up. I don't know. I almost feel like it's karma. I was such a hard teenager. I was so mean to my mom. Granted, when I went back and did work on myself, I realized why I was so angry, and those are very valid reasons, but I took it out on the wrong person. I feel like my karma would be just a out of control kid. Maybe not. I don't know. But do you know how I am not worried about a legacy? You know why? Because I am an aunt, to like a literal aunt to 4 children, but I'm also an aunt to my friends' children. I love being a part of their lives. I'm a part of many things that make me feel like I am giving, and really, especially with young people, that it's making a difference. I don't need a child that I probably will mess up to have a legacy. This obsession with your children being proof that you had a point to life is part of patriarchy. I don't mean that you shouldn't be really if your kids turn out great because you did so much, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that a lot of people have kids for really selfish reasons. Pressure, avoiding themselves, the same reason a lot of women get married for the wrong reasons or date for the wrong reasons, like don't even know ourselves and try to go out and date. Good luck. The expectation that parents, a lot of them put on their children are so unfair. And it's because of this obsession with the legacy. If you want to leave a legacy, work to make your community better, not just your children. Because a lot of parents are so hyper obsessed with their children. And I used to work with these children, so I can speak on this. I don't have children, but I used to literally be an outdoor leader with teenagers and children, from the ages of like 6 to 18. The stuff that the pressure some of their parents put on them, I was like, God, oh my God, how are you dealing with this? So and this is the same thing. If a woman is like, this woman had a child at 42 and then she ended up loving being a parent. Good for you. But remember, a lot of women, and I've heard this a lot, women who didn't think they'd have kids and then they had kids. Not all of them do this, and I appreciate the ones who do. But a lot of women who become moms are then convinced that every woman who didn't want to become a mom really wants to be a mom just like them, that they'll change their... Do you have any idea how many times someone said, you'll change your mind? I'm like, but you don't know me better than I know myself. Yeah, I could change my mind. I reserve the right to change my mind. My financial situation, just my mentality towards life, whether or not I had a partner or not that I think would not be a deadbeat, those would maybe influence, but at the end of the day, I have never wanted kids, ever. And I know a lot of women will say they don't want kids and then they get tricked into it or they change their mind. But to tell a woman that she'll change her mind, that's this mentality, but in grandma form. I'm not changing my mind ever. It's too late now. Well, maybe not. I mean, I'm 47. I could probably still pop one out now, but I'm not going to. But, I'm glad they brought this up. A lot of people are like, it's the state of the world. Also, just what happened last week with the election. Climate change. We see people in Valencia, in Spain. If you haven't looked at that, that'll convince you to be like, oh, my God. In North Carolina, all the hurricanes. Like, everything. Just the climate a piece alone. Like, I'm not saying don't have children. I'm just saying it's a valid reason people don't want to have. And so, especially when boomers or Gen X come in here and they're like, but why? It was so rewarding for me. You grew up in a different time. And then you didn't work hard to make sure that this environment was a place that we would want to bring children into. But like this woman right here who had one at 42, is torn between, who lives in the suburbs of Chicago. So, wow, good for you. You're probably doing okay. Who'd you vote for? Christine. Vacillates between feeling, supportive of her daughter's choice and quietly hoping she might change her mind. Not quietly now. You went to the New York Times and just put your daughter on blast. That's why this, quiet grief. Yeah, right. Being surrounded by, but I want you to imagine that some of those grandchildren are radicalized men who hate women. Grandmas, I don't think you realize that unless, you know what I mean? That we have a crisis of men being radicalized into hating you. Hating you too, Grandma. They hate you. You too. Fantasy. We gotta let go of this fantasy around motherhood and grandmotherhood. This fantasy of just teaching. Go. Why do you need a grandchild to do this? Go volunteer at schools. There's so many ways that people who just want a legacy so bad, you could actually do all that stuff. Why would you only want to do it for someone you're related to? What about your grandnieces and there's so many children that could use this love, resources, attention, and time. But a lot of women are obsessed with the grandchild. That's selfish. So, like I was saying before, a lot of women, especially if they were, I think that a lot of moms who are stay-at-home moms, and maybe they loved their life doing that. I am not saying that a lot of women really, truly love being mothers. I get it. I know some of those women. I love that for them. And then I think there's other women who had no choice because of the times, because of money, because of their husbands. And so, you know what? They embrace that life. And now, the idea of not continuing in that same direction as a grandmother scares them. Because motherhood, especially in this economy, especially in this time, especially under patriarchy, requires so much sacrifice from women that a lot of women get out of, and especially if they're trying to raise kids with men, that women lose themselves. They don't even have time to, go for a run, much less reflect or, on things they want to do. Like they don't have time. And so retirement and no children in the home is a very scary moment. They don't know what to do. It's not the same, but in a similar kind of spirit, a lot of women who've always just gone from one relationship to the other, especially if they have really deep codependency, once they're single, they are so uncomfortable being single because they don't even know where to start. How do I even get to know myself? I've always had a man or somebody, because it's not just cishet women who do this. We know this. But a lot of women are so codependent, we don't even know who we are without it being in relation to someone else. So all this time, we don't even get the chance to fall in love with ourselves or even know ourselves. Because either men, a relationship, and or children take so much from us. I mean, literally, women don't even have time to exercise, much less journal and explore their creativity when they're with the wrong partner. Of course, the idea of not having grandchildren to give you that sense of meaning and purpose is terrifying. But if you really want to give, there's so many ways to do that. It doesn't have to be by pressuring your daughters or sons or children of any gender into giving you your next distraction. And please do not get me wrong. I know that lots of people love parenting. But I think a lot of women especially love it because they've never been exposed to anything else or had the opportunity to pursue anything else. Maybe they would still love it, but maybe they would also love something else too. So then this doctor talks about how she has to talk, and I'm glad that these would-be grandparents are going to therapy finally to discuss this. But that's what you should be doing instead of talking to the kids and being like, "Are you sure you don't? Maybe you regret it." They never say maybe you'll regret having children, right? That's what drives me crazy. Maybe that question I got all the time. Aren't you afraid you're going to regret it? I'm like, aren't you afraid that you're going to regret having your children? Aren't you going to regret all the stuff you couldn't do? So instead of being like, just keep doing this to your kids, talk to a therapist about it because it's straining the relationships. And then some people are just going no contact with their parents because they're like, shut up, stop. I'm not doing it. And also, the more you pressure, a lot of people like me, the more you pressure me at this point, the more I'm not going to do it. It has the reverse effect. But I like that this woman, her daughter, has made it very clear, you are not to discuss this with me. Like, that's we can learn from, you have a parent who is still pressuring you. Just be, and I had to do this with one of my parents. It was a bit different subject. But they kept, and I was like, if you want me to stop calling you, keep doing this. This makes me not want to call you. I like talking to you, but not about this. And you bring it up every time. Yet they still put this pressure. And then go in the New York Times to talk about it. The situation can feel like a personal rejection from older parents. I get it. Did I mess up as a parent? Right? Like, and a lot of them are like, do you not want kids because I sucked? And the answer to that question is sometimes. Sometimes, yeah. They don't want to put someone through what you put them through. And other times, it's got nothing to do with you. And then this is the part that's maddening. I'm glad they brought it up, but it's like, oh my God, are we in high school still? It also shows how much patriarchy is so alive and well that, look at this. When one peer group is deep in the trenches of grandparenthood, doing all this stuff, the ones without grandchildren feel left out. This is that whole grass is greener. Ask some of those grandparents who are shuttling these kids around and are so busy. Like, some of them love it because they get to just tap out when they don't want to, but some of them are exhausted, right? It's like when your friends are getting married or when your friends are having children and you're not. Yeah, well, I've been through that. Get used to it. It doesn't feel good, does it? But that doesn't mean that you should do it. And honestly, this is very telling because this goes to show you that a lot of these wannabe grandparents are trying to push their children into doing exactly what they did. I am telling you, every time I talk about this, people in my comments are like, yep, between the ages of like 35 to 45, if you are single, and especially if you're child free, this like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I feel so left out. Maybe I should do this. It is strong, even if you don't want children. Between 37 and 40, I was like, am I sure? Maybe I'm denying I was questioning myself, even though I've literally never wanted children. Never. So for women who are like maybe on the fence, I can't imagine what this is like for you. But this is what a lot of children, they know their parents didn't actually want them. They just didn't want to feel left out. As somebody who, one of my parents clearly had them because, whatever, that's what you do. Ask the children of people whose parents had them, didn't think it through, or like whatever, just did it. What it feels like to know that the parent doesn't want anything to do with you. They want the legacy. They want the social capital. But every time you hang out with them, they would rather do anything than talk to you. You got football to watch. You got beers to drink. You got blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of us out there. There's this one, Jill Perry, 69, her two daughters, both who are in their 30s and Childfree. You know, they should be able to make their own decisions. Of course. But, and they have her full support. But now would be the perfect time for her to become a grandmother. Because she was laid off from her job running a college student year 2 years ago and has then spent decades working as a nurse. Let me tell you something. Therapists, teachers, nurses, there's a few others, but let me tell you, if you have a problem with codependency and you work in any of those fields, maybe you should get help with codependency, because I swear to God, the amount of codependency with nurses, teachers, therapists, or anything that's like professional helper, I had to get a lot, because I was a teacher. I was a rescuer in the wilderness. I mean, I was all these things, taking care of other people, and I never want to be a mom, but I was still like, maybe go talk to a therapist about codependency, because we're the ones who tend to pressure other people into doing things we want to do because we don't know how to not be focused on everyone else and saving and being a hero and all that stuff. When friends post happy photos with their grandchildren to social media, she feels left out, feels a tug on her heart. Sorry, I'm putting words in her mouth. A tug of what might have been. Her house would have been the fun house. Really? Are you sure about that? Your grandkids may hate you. Or you may hate them. A lot of people don't even think about what it would be like to have a child with a disability, right? They don't think about, like, you cannot control what kind of child you have. And that all parenting is very hard. But people believe this, like, oh, I'm just going to have this, and I'm going to have all these kids. I'm going to be in a rocking chair eating a Werther's Original with, you know, in my cardigan, and have a little boy being like, Grandpa, blah, blah, blah. That isn't reality. At least they recognize, okay, if I don't get to do that with grandchildren, what can I do to fill that? Please stop, women especially who follow me, or anyone, femmes, anyone who's been socialized as a woman, please start questioning. I'm sure most of you are already or have been for a long time. Why do I feel this need to do this? And maybe is there something else? Why do I feel the need to get married? Maybe I should pursue friendships more. Why do I feel the need to have children? Maybe that creative energy can go into something else. I don't know. I'm just saying, a lot of us don't even realize how much this stuff is indoctrinated deep in us until we really sit with it a lot and question it a lot and think of alternatives, especially now. These kids are like, yeah, she's always making it clear how much she would love to be a grandma. He's awake. You're awake, Mose. Thank you for joining us. Oh, this is a little sleepy face. Oh. A lot of these kids are having a question, feeling grief about not being able to give their parents a child. Like, I don't want to feel guilty for not giving grandparents a child that I am burdened to take care of. But I get it. I felt bad about that for sure. Even though my mom literally was like, no, it's okay. I don't really think you should. You know what? If there's one thing my mom is, it's practical. She's like her daughter who lived in a truck for a large part of her, and bounced around and then got an abusive relationship and then, writes about forking all these men and centering her pleasure and la 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 and going to schmegs clubs. Like, maybe she, you know what? Even though she loves Anthony, she's also like, yeah, no, it's okay. No. She knows that I can barely take care of myself. And she's proud of me. So thank God. I wish more. But of course, she also has grandchildren from my sister. So I do like the way this article, even though it doesn't go into all the stuff I mentioned before, most of it does also be like, well, y'all need to start, like planning your life for what would it look like if it didn't have grandchildren. Okay? Stop just assuming that's a given or that you are owed that. And also, please consider that a lot of grandparents are overworked babysitters. Now, some of that may be the entitlement of their children, but some of it may be because of where we're at and what the people in these generations consistently voted for and against. It's not only their fault. It's a lot of reasons, but I'm just saying. A lot of people are so mad that that a lot of the biggest hippie boomers are now some of the most conservative, like, Trump supporters. Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Let me know, have you been pressured under this? I mean, and again, I understand the grief is real, especially if you have been raised under patriarchy, where parenthood or grandparenthood has been so put on the pedestal as like the thing, even though it is not what we were sold. Anyway, also, please join my Patreon if you love my work. It's one of the only reasons why I can continue to do this is because it gives me the financial security, and you get lots of extra stuff. My lives are over there. I'm doing this today, a live with the author of this book, Emotional Labor, Rose Hackman. And anyway, please follow my Patreon, because that's where I do lots of extra content. I do my lives, I do all kinds of stuff, and even if you don't follow a tier, that's where you can get just updates from me in case the algorithm is just like, or, TikTok is banned, or, YouTube is just not showing you my stuff. You can keep up with me over there, even if you're not on a paid tier. So anyway, et voila, let me know if you heard the comments. Comment song, aunt and uncle edition. Comment song, look the kind of stuff we do. Comment song, don't you wish you didn't have to be a parent, but you could be an aunt, an uncle, or whatever. Comment song, dinosaur edition. This makes no sense if you're new here and are like, what the hell is all this crap she's doing? I'm just improvising with random photos that I took one day at this dumb dinosaur exposition. Whee! That we went for, because that's the kind of weird, cool stuff you do as an aunt and uncle. Anyway, lots of dinosaurs. Comment song. Leave a comment if you want. Blah, 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 blah. Look at this. They call this not cotton candy, but grandfather's beard. Hey, comment song, and an uncle edition. Hey, all that crap went in the trash because cotton candy's kind of gross. Anyway, leave a comment song. Hey, comment song. La, 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 la. Hey, let me know if you heard the comment song. Tap, 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 tap. Dinosaur, bye!